Good evening, I'm Pat Olson. Welcome to Satellite Showtime's Control Room. You see our studio behind me. Tonight on Satellite Showtime, we will bring you a lively panel discussion about the industry and its future, also the Calltronics video newsletter, and a special segment produced by Electronic Age magazine. But first, this.
Welcome to the world of satellite TV opportunities, the marketing techniques magazine for satellite television that reviews the latest technology and introduces you to people you should know.
Satellite TV Opportunities is the marketing techniques magazine for satellite TV dealers. Our single purpose is to help dealers increase their sales and their profits through improved marketing techniques.
Call today for your subscription to success, 1-800-922-2812, Satellite TV Opportunities magazine.
We've done it again this year. Last year, we were able to bring together a special panel of industry experts to talk about the state of the satellite TV business. Well, we've done the same thing again this year, and moderating the panel discussion is Satellite TV magazine editor Chris Schultheis.
Hello and welcome to Satellite Preview 1985. My name is Chris Schultheis, and we're here today to discuss the home satellite industry, how it applies to you, what is happening, where we have come from in the past 5 years. Last year at this approximately the same time, we also did a show, and we had a lot of people from our industry representing various facets, manufacturers, dealers, distributors. And we discussed common problems, common goals. We're doing the same thing this year. We've assembled a group here today representing the various factions. And what we're going to talk about is where this industry has been and where it is going, the problems that have arisen, what we're likely to see in the upcoming year. As sort of a co-host today, I have Gary Saunders with me. Gary is from Century Satellite Stores, and he's a dealer. And I think it's very fitting that a dealer should be sitting on this panel. It's the dealers who have to deal with the public. They're on the front lines. They're the first to know what is going on because they get the customer reaction. Gary, how has 1984 been for you, and what do you look for in 1985?
Well, we had an excellent year. It passed any expectations that we thought we would make, and we're looking forward to the next year being at least as good as the past year and better.
Have you seen any big changes in the way you do business, in the clientele base, the customers that come to your store?
Well, people are a lot more aware of satellite television now. The people that come in are not necessarily better informed on equipment, but they know what satellite television is. They know what they're missing if they don't have it. And I think it's becoming much more of a general consumer type item now.
What kind of people make up the bulk of your customers? Who is buying home satellite systems?
Everybody. It's the range from the whole income spectrum, from people in the cities to people in the rural, although of course the primary is the rural area still.
Farmers, factory workers,
right.
Professionals?
Everyone.
Doctors, lawyers. Why are they buying home satellite systems?
For the variety of choice that they have. Of course, as you know, movies and news, and everyone has their own certain interest, I guess, that they prefer. But whatever it is, the satellite television gives it to them.
Why don't we introduce our other guests here? The first segment of our show is product. We're going to discuss product, and we have manufacturers of the various parts of our industry here. On our right, we have Glenn Messerschmidt, who is the marketing director for Houston Tracker Systems, which basically all you build is motor drives that control the dishes to aim them at the different satellites. Is that right?
That's correct, Chris.
Okay. On my immediate left, we have Hans Jenner, who is the Chief Executive Officer and President of Luxor North America. Luxor primarily manufactures receivers.
No. not anymore. That's where we started, but today we have a full line of products to build a system.
Okay. And next we have John Call from Calltronics. John is well known for antenna manufacturing. And you are here today to tell us about a few changes in antennas.
It's fair enough.
Okay. Gary, let's talk about where the products stand today. Last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, one of the biggest problems was product availability, product reliability. Has it loosened up? Is the product better today? Is it more dependable? Does it have more features?
There's been big changes in, well, we've been in it, I think we're starting our 5th year, and it's just rapidly become, the product has become more reliable, easier to install, and the availability is, I guess we have been able to be supplied. I'm not so sure that maybe other dealers that don't do the volume are having as good success as we are in getting the product, but the reliability is definitely improved, and the features. It's you've got on your receivers the digital readouts, and of course remote control, stereo, and these are features that make it much more easier for the consumer to use.
Are you generally, the majority of your sales, are they upscale systems? Are they the more complex, the more deluxe systems?
Well, we're in a market that is primarily rural in Wisconsin, but usually when people come in, they want to buy more or less the top end, at least for our market. They want a good system. They want it to do they want to have an actuator on it. They probably want remote control, and there's not really a great deal of difference from a lower price system to a higher price system, and so they usually go with the features that they want.
What is the price spread for you between a lower price system and your top of the line system?
Well, for us, of course, most people want an actuator, so that puts them over $2,000 with most any size dish, and on up to $3,000. Our average probably is about maybe $2,700 would be about our average system.
Is that installed?
Installed price.
So a range of $2,000 to $3,000
right.
Covers most of what you sell. Most of the systems that you are selling, you said that they have actuators on them.
Most of them do. If they don't originally, they call back shortly and add that on.
They simply, they want to look at all the satellites.
That's right.
And take advantage of the tremendous availability of programming.
That's correct.
Are actuators a big problem?
That is the most troublesome item that we have had in the system. Of course, it probably has to do the most work. It's the mechanical part of the whole package. So in defense of the actuator people, why there's a reason for that, but that is probably the most problem we've had as far as service calls.
Well, I think you're right, and it's fair to say that the actuator does a lot of work. It's really the only big moving part in the system. It sits outside in all kinds of weather, rain, snow, sleet, ice, and it's got to drive this dish back and forth in heavy winds and so on and so forth. Glenn, according to surveys that we have done, Houston Tracker is #1 in the industry.
We like to think so, anyway, Chris.
Okay. Houston has a pretty good reputation, I believe. If there are any problems that I hear about, it's the use of Saginaw's linear actuator or motor drive. The linear actuator is the mechanical device, the motor and the jack that actually telescopes in and out to move the dish. And that is where a lot of the problems seem to occur.
Yeah, not only you not only have Saginaw, you have a number of other manufacturers.
But Saginaw is by far the biggest right now.
Yes, they are. I believe they are the largest manufacturer of the actuator. Now, the actuator itself is probably the weakest link in the system, as you were just saying a little earlier, because it's susceptible to all the weather. However, we recently have been talking to Saginaw and some other manufacturers, and we're attempting to get them to improve the quality of the linear actuator. I believe that if something isn't done, on improving it this year, you're going to see, well, I think you're going to see it anyway, but you're going to see more and more horizon-to-horizon mounts, employing a worm gear or whatever.
Could you explain horizon-to-horizon mounts for our viewers, what it means?
Well, basically, it's like a chain drive or a screw drive that attaches to the mount of the dish. You have no linear extension like you have with an actuator attaching to the mount and the edge of the dish. There's no chance of really bending a tube or pushing your dish over, etc. Also, you can go from horizon to horizon, which really isn't, you're not really capable of doing that right now with a linear actuator.
Okay. I think it's only fair, Gary, that we get Hans in this because, after all, Luxor does manufacture a motor drive. Do you use...
Let's not leave them out.
Yeah. Do you use the Luxor motor drive?
Yes, we do. We use
What do you
many
find?
of them.
What do you find with the...
Well, of course, it matches with the actuator, and that's, or I mean, excuse me, with the receiver. The actuator and receiver are a package as we sell them, and
it's integrated with one remote control.
That's right, and the two units match on top of the TV, and people like that. We've had good success with Luxor, and but like I said, they all have they're all susceptible to breakdown. So.
Hans, whose mechanical linear actuator do you use?
We are currently using JGS Engineering out of St. Louis. And I would like to say you need to understand where these pieces come from. They come from the farming equipment industry, they come from trailers, etc. They do not have that resolution that is necessary to get a very good product to move the dish exactly into a position. But we are getting there. I have seen progress during the last 6 to 9 months, and I would say today the manufacturers of actuators do understand what it's all about. But earlier it was just like an arm that was going to pull and push something, and they were not really aware of the high requirements that this industry represent. I don't know if you agree in this, Glenn, but...
I'd like to take a little bit of exception to that. The problem that we have never, with our systems, now I don't know about everybody else, had positioning problems related to, let me say, the electronics or the gearing of the actuator itself. Most of the problems in actuators tend to be sensor problems on maintaining, so to speak, an accurate count. You have sensors that, because you're out in the weather all the time, you have sensors that, for example, Hall effects, highly susceptible to lightning, for example. And then that requires maintenance to where somebody has to go out and change the Hall effect sensor.
Why don't you just explain the sensing and what it actually means?
Well,
There's a lot of people out there who don't
there's a
understand.
number of different types of sensors that
What does the
people
sensor
use.
do?
Okay, the sensor is essentially the counter. It is keeping track of the position of the tube of that actuator, and it sends back little messages to the control box. Now, there's basically, 4 types that have been widely used throughout the industry. You have the potentiometer. And I'm not highly technical in this area. I just kind of know about the different types of sensors. You have the pot, or potentiometer. You have the Hall effect sensor. You have the reed switch. And then you have the, the opto, correct me on that
Opto
one.
coupler.
Opto coupler, exactly. That different manufacturers employ. And you can see these different sensors among various manufacturers. We, ourselves, are using right now both Hall effects and reeds. With the Hall effect, you're highly susceptible to lightning. With the reed is not so susceptible. However, a reed is more of an electromechanical sensor rather than a Hall is just an electronic or electrical sensor. And there's pluses and minuses to all of these different sensing mechanisms. And I still think that it's an area that can be improved upon. What happens is, with being susceptible to ice and water and everything else, you tend to get a lot of penetration into the linear actuators, and freeze-up problems do occur, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't really, you know, Hans, I was taking exception kind of to what you said. We've never had positioning problems as long as everything is working right inside the system itself. As soon as you have a sensor go bad, or you get water damage or whatever, then you're going to have a problem with the actuator.
Okay, so Hans, you're talking about the resolution of the...
I believe that's, and correct me if I
I'm saying that
misinterpreted
these mechanical pieces do come from another area, and they have not been properly modified to work in our environment earlier. That I've seen this has changed. You can, for example, see in some arms from some manufacturers large proportion of play, for example, and that will affect your positioning of the dish to the specific satellite. I've seen that. I hear about it from our distributors, and I understand there are problems out there.
That's one. Well, it's one area that we haven't had a lot of problems in now.
Okay,
he's right.
We've just got to go away for a minute here and take a message from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back and get into this actuator business some more.
Want to know more about satellite TV? Then go to the source for product reviews and how-tos. We're on the road and out in space, and sometimes in very cold places, with features and technical reports. It's all in satellite TV. That's only $19.95 for 12 big issues of STV magazine. Call now, 1-800-438-2020, and get this LCD calendar clock free with your subscription. That's 12 big issues of STV magazine and the clock for only $19.95. The number again is 1-800-438-2020. 1-800-438-2020. Call now.
Okay, we're back, and we're discussing linear actuators. Gary, let's kind of reiterate what has been said here so far. First of all, you said that the linear actuators of the motor drives are the biggest problem area in selling systems retail level, right?
That's right.
The problems are because that mechanical device is out in the weather. The linear actuator itself, you get water in it, you get freezing problems, you get breakage. A second problem is probably an actual drifting problem. When you have a programmable device, it loses count and it gradually drifts off the satellite. And when you recall SATCOM F3, it doesn't go right back to F3. It stops off at the side a little bit.
That's right.
Saginaw, which is a division of General Motors, is the biggest manufacturer of linear actuators for this industry. I have talked to them in reference to some of the problems, and frankly, I haven't got a good answer from them. They keep shuffling me off to the PR department. And I said, gee, you guys are making a lot of money in this industry. You're selling a lot of linear actuators. And I basically have seen no changes at all in the 3 years that they've been supplying this industry. Glenn, obviously, Houston Tracker is a big customer of Saginaw. What does Saginaw tell you? You're aware of the problems. You go to Saginaw and say, hey, guys, come on, let's cure this problem. They're not weatherproof. Let's tighten it up.
That's true. In the past, it's been difficult to get Saginaw to make changes. Now, it just so happens, as a matter of fact, what is today? Tomorrow, we're going to be talking to Saginaw again about changes that we recommended that they make in the actuators approximately a month and a half to 2 months ago. It's my understanding, talking to someone from Saginaw last week, that most of those changes are going to be implemented, which is very encouraging. There are a lot of little changes that I think are really going to benefit the user in regards to reliability of the system. And I don't know, from an implementation standpoint, I don't personally have a list of all the changes with me. That was our engineering department and their engineering department discussed all of these. But getting them to finally agree to make some changes, I think, is a real plus, and I think you're going to see a a more reliable Saginaw actuator in the next few months.
Gary, anything to add on that?
Well, I'm looking forward to having that happen.
Sure you are.
When we buy an actuator, it's a Houston Tracker or a Luxor. It's not Saginaw. You know, we're looking forward to you fellas making those improvements because we buy them as a system.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In a home system, what is the next vulnerable component in the system? What is the next piece that gives you the most problems?
Well, then it would be the receiver would be the next problem. Of course, that's your next major component. So, but it's various problems. It's much fewer, many fewer problems than we used to have. Fewer problems as far as dead on arrival. We don't run into that near as much as we used to. It does happen occasionally.
This means that you take it out of the box and it doesn't work.
Right, and of course we always have a spare with us when we're doing an install if we haven't already run it back at the shop. But that's getting fairly rare anymore. Usually, like with most electronics, if there's a problem, it's going to show up right away, and the customers usually understand that, especially if we can put another one in and keep them going right away.
So you think the receiver reliability has improved dramatically?
Yes, and the features have improved a lot too.
What about, some of these receivers are fairly complex. What about teaching the customer how to use them? Especially when they're integrated with a motor drive and you've got an infrared remote and you've got polarity to consider, you've got reverse format, you've got the stereo. Is it a problem?
The more complicated, the more that a system does, of course, the more things there are that people have to learn. So it does become a problem. We have taken our own initiative and made up an instruction sheet for people that is consumer oriented, that they can understand what each button does, rather than there are books that come with systems, but let's say we may have a Houston Tracker with a Drake, so you've got two different books, but if they're interfaced, there's no instructions for the consumer that he can open it and read. It tells what each button does and so forth, but yet not a step-by-step type of.
You're saying the manuals aren't very comprehensive and not very complete? Or?
I think they're complete for us to understand them, but for the customer, who this whole thing is brand new to them, they can't follow it very well, and I'd like to see some improvements in that.
Well, when we were talking last night, I made the statement that I bought a $49.95 clock radio that had a far superior owner's manual and operation manual than most of the satellite receiver manuals in this industry.
Yeah,
I think that's an area that does have to be addressed.
Yeah.
Mimeograph sheets and that kind of thing is for a $2,000 or $3,000 system is probably not adequate.
Yes, I'd like to see some improvements there. We printed our own sheets up, but it would be much more professional, I think, if it could come with the system in a regular printed booklet. Let's
talk to Hans about what is coming in receivers and what the trend is. Hans, there's been a proliferation in the last 12 months of block receivers. Could you explain to our people out there what the difference is between the block receivers and the old style receivers?
Well, the major change is, of course, that in a so-called 70 megahertz input system, you tune the channel in the outdoor electronics. You have a device out there subject to temperature change, etc., where you select one single channel that you bring in to the house on your cable. With the block system, you have the tuning inside. That means that this temperature sensitive device is inside in the receiver in nice working temperature. And in addition, bringing in the entire spectrum of the frequency into the house, it enables you to hook up more receivers on the same line. So from one dish you can enjoy having a number of receivers, and everyone in the house can independently look at the available channels on one satellite. Whereas when you have a so-called 70 megahertz system, you only have the ability to watch one channel in the house. So there's a major change. It's easier to install. It's a better system performance-wise. It's got a higher reliability. And when we came into this country in 1982, we didn't really understand why people had chosen this 70 megahertz input philosophy. But I think it was because of the cost of, for example, LMBs at that time. That has changed entirely now. So we are very happy to see this change in the market. And my projection is by end year, the block system has taken over an overwhelming majority of the total sales.
Okay, let's just explain to everybody there. In the receiver, there's basically three components in the receiver section, and I'm going to include the LNA in the receiver section because it's integral to the operation. So you have the LNA, you have a down converter,
yeah,
and
block
you
down
have,
converter for
you have a
blocks.
tuner, if we will call
yes,
it,
yes.
which is the receiver, right? That doesn't change whether it's block or single conversion 70 meg, right? You still have those three basic components.
Well, yes, but it's where you locate them.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second advantage is that the cabling that has to run outside. With the 70 meg, where you actually did the tuning outside,
Yes.
you have to run extra wires, run extra voltages out there. And that's a big problem. LMBs, you mentioned LMBs. Maybe some of the people out there don't know what an LMB is.
Well, an LMB is nothing else but a rational way of packaging an LNA and a block down converter in one piece. It's also more rational, less complicated for the installer and for the consumer to understand.
It's a sealed, weatherproof package.
Absolutely.
Sits right at the focal point of the dish.
Yeah.
One cable comes back into the house.
Right. That's it.
It's a natural way to go. Is Luxor going to have LMBs?
Yes, we have it already.
Gary, installation. Wouldn't LMBs be just terrific for installation?
We haven't installed one, but I'm sure they would be. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And of course, that'll give us the extra receivers in the house, which we're finding more people want.
That's a good point. Do people want 2 and 3 receivers in the house? Do they want the kids to have one in the den to be able to watch MTV while you're watching Arts and Entertainment or some other program such as that?
We're seeing a lot more of it, of course, as the systems have come down in price. Then that makes it more, I would say, more affordable to have a second receiver. Up until now, we have more or less discouraged it because of the installation problems with not having a block system.
Yeah, you had to go to power dividers and all kinds of complex cabling.
Yeah, we've just kind of discouraged it.
Block down conversion. If I came in and bought a system off you, and I said, give me a 1 receiver price, and how much is it going to cost me extra to put another receiver in the den? What are we looking at?
With the block system?
Yeah, with the block system, percentage-wise, I mean.
Well, it's of course it's a small percentage or a small additional amount. We haven't really, we've been a little cautious on it, I guess is what I would have to say. We're kind of letting other people test the waters a little bit with some of the new receivers and get a little feedback. We've had too many products, I guess, over the years that we tried maybe too soon, and so we're not as confident of being the first ones. So we aren't real up to date, I guess, on the block converters yet. We're looking forward to the Vegas show, and I think we'll see some good items then.
Hans, would you think it's fair to say that 85 is really going to be the year of the block?
Absolutely, yes. And there's another thing also that some of these block receivers, the one I represent and some others, are also KU-band compatible. And that means you can also receive 12 gigahertz signals into the same receiver, given that you have the outdoor electronics to pick up and amplify the 12 gigahertz signal.
Okay, you need 2 separate block converters out there.
Yes, two different LMBs, correct, for 4 and for 12 gigahertz, but the receiver is the same unit.
Okay.
And that's a new option for the consumer.
And that certainly, although right now it's probably not critical down the road,
yes,
it may be very important that the ability to be able to update your equipment to be able to receive both 4 and 12.
Exactly.
When we were having dinner last night, you projected a scenario for 4 and 12 gigahertz.
Well, yes, I'm very convinced today that rural America, they have 4 gigahertz reception now, and they will have it also in the future. What we call the C-band DBS has come to stay, and I don't think there are any forces or powers that can stop that happening and to stay. But in the urban areas, I think that we will see during 1985 a slow development of 12 gigahertz KU band activities, because once you get into the urban areas, you will face terrestrial interference with 4 gigahertz, because 4 gigahertz was never designated for individual reception. It is a telecommunications frequency and for commercial purposes. So there are problems in the urban areas, but the alternative then is KU band 12 gigahertz, and it's coming on now, more and more.
It is coming on more and more. We had a false start with 12 gigahertz. There was a lot of hype, a lot of press about 12 gigahertz, and that 12 gigahertz is coming. It's going to put the C-banders or the 4 gigahertz people out of business. We're all going to have 1-foot and 2-foot dishes, and you guys might as well throw away your 10 and 12-foot dishes. The takeoff never arrived. Most of the major players dropped out. USCI is the only one in the United States hanging on there by their fingernails. What went wrong? Why didn't it arrive now?
I think there was no motivation for people to buy a 12 gigahertz system to receive only 4 to 5 programs. Why should you do that when you had the alternative of either 4 gigahertz with up to 100 channels or cable in those areas where you see USCI started to promote their product? There was a lack of programming, and I think this industry is too much talking about hardware, about the dBs and gigahertz and megahertz and inputs and outputs. We are very little talking about programming, because what the people out there are buying is programming. And there was no program available. What I'm saying now with the 12 gig stuff is I see that coming into the urban areas. It will not have any detrimental effect on the C-band activities, because they have come to stay and they will continue to grow as they have done. But we cannot use C-band in the urban areas due to the terrestrial interference. We have to accept that.
We'll have more of that panel discussion in the weeks to come. Now this.
Are you confused about satellite programming guides? Are you tired of monthly inaccurate guides that are big and bulky and about as much fun to use as a city phone book? How about tabloids with hard-to-read print, incomplete movie listings that are about as easy to use as a road map? Or newspaper guides with confusing grids that fall apart in your hands? There is an alternative. OnSet, the easy-to-read, easy-to-use weekly programming guide with more movies and sports. Best of all, OnSet is only $39. That's right, 52 issues for only $39. But don't take our word for it. We'll send you a free copy of OnSet, and you can judge for yourself. And if you're a dealer, ask about our dealer program. Make your customers happy and make money. Call OnSat now. Toll-free 1-800-438-2020 or write OnSat, Box 2347, Shelby, North Carolina, 28150. OnSat, you've seen the rest. Now try the best.
Now here's Tom Graham of Electronic Age magazine to tell us about an ambitious Canadian company.
This is Tom Graham again, the editor of Electronic Age in Canada. And I'm here today with George Brown of Uniden, or Geocom as his company name, covering Uniden for all of Canada. And I'd like to have a short interview with George as to the plans and aspirations of Uniden and how they're going to take over Canada and eventually the world. I know right away I could see this. Uniden were going to become a real force in Canada, and no pun intended. I know that the Uniden force is a two-way radio systems that is also being sold in Canada, has been for a while. And this vast company just seems to cover every aspect of the consumer electronics and industrial, commercial, and there seemed to be no way to stop the juggernaut from to getting the most of the market. So how do you stand in this situation, George?
Well, I think that we've been here for about 6 months in Canada, and we've been working very hard at accomplishing exactly what you said, Tom, which is taking over the Canadian market in satellite television.
Mm-hmm.
Our particular interest from Geocom's standpoint is in the TVRO or satellite systems, basically, is all we deal in. We don't deal in the other product lines from this operation.
Do you think that will continue to be the case now that cellular radio is coming to Canada?
I think that with the size of the TVRO market and the amount of effort that we have to put in, that I think for the next few years that I can see will be strictly satellite.
Yeah. This is in keeping with what most people are saying. If you have a business and you're going to get into TVRO, make it a separate entity of the business and let it stand and fall on its own. Don't try to mingle it with everything else in the consumer electronic line, which makes good sense.
Oh, definitely. Now, the dynamic growth in the satellite business is such that if you were doing anything else, there are certain times of the year that you wouldn't have any time to pay attention to your other business.
That's true.
Yeah.
Of course, you're located in the ideal area here for the TVRO. You can install them all year long. No problem with frozen ground, but we have them back east. This is the paradise of Canada, of course, in Vancouver. And every time I come here, I vow I'm going to start my business here.
Start all over again?
That's right. But, of course, the 70% of the population is Ontario, Quebec, so you can't ignore that, and it's the publishing capital. But on a per capita basis, on all types of communications, and I go back to two-way radio as well, it's much greater in the West than it is in the East. And I guess it's the wide open spaces in the prairies have a lot to do with that fact, both with the satellite, the TVROs, and other means of communication.
I think the point you made about the 70% population is the #1 reason why we do better in the West as far as satellite television goes, because our main target market, of course, is those that are underserved by conventional television means. And when you look at the population bases in the Ontario-Quebec regions, it's more economically viable for cable to operate. Where out in the West here, there's a good probably 60% of the populations that are underserved or have no service at all from Cablevision.
And this, of course, is why the piracy first started here, even before TVROs. Stealing signals from the U.S. To cover it. I know one motel in Lethbridge alone that had convinced somebody in the U.S. to put up a repeater station so they could get a signal. So that goes way, way back. So interesting history in this business. A lot of it which can never be written, of course. But I do know that the interior market, as you say, even though they're well served, you get 150 miles away from any city or town, Montreal, Toronto, and you're in areas that would never be economical to cable. Which brings up a point, George. What do you think of the history of the feature of DBS, the 12 gigahertz? With the cable companies at first didn't jump in with delight as was anticipated, and it's just seem to be now getting around to the idea that they may use this system.
Our company, as you may or may not be aware, Tom, is our chief engineer, Yoshihiro Kanishi, is considered one of the fathers of 12 gigahertz technology. And from a corporate standpoint, there's nothing that we would like to see better than more advancement in the 12 gigahertz frequency in DBS systems. Unfortunately, my personal opinion is that I don't think that we'll see a large growth in that 12 gigahertz frequency because of the numerous technological challenges they've come up against. Perhaps maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, as they develop sort of the antidote for some of the problems they've developed, we may see it come back into limelight. But right now, I think it's on a decline rather than an increase.
Right. I did see an offset parabolic to eliminate the idea of the snow staying in the dish.
Yes.
As our technology increases, I'm sure all these problems will resolve themselves, of course. So it'll be an interesting feature, and it's a fascinating feature of this entire industry that got me back into publishing electronics again. And so thank you very much, George, and we'll be back again.
Thank you, Tom.
After this message, the Calltronics video newsletter.
For a limited time only, you can receive Channel Guide for a special reduced rate. For just $9, you will receive 8 weeks of Channel Guide, a month of Galaxy One magazine, and the all-new 1985 Whole Earth Station catalog. That's a $20 value for just $9. Enclose check and address, and you'll start receiving the original grid format for satellite TV. Due to this low price, no phone orders may be taken. Write today. Channel Guide, Department 808A, P.O. Box 1633, Englewood, Colorado, 80150. Do it today.
Hello, Joe Kelch here for Calltronics Video Newsletter on this April 2nd.
Quality, performance, and strength, and all at a highly competitive price. That's the all-new Trans 10 Mesh by Calltronics. Engineered for maximum durability and reflective surface, the Trans 10 is also extremely easy to look at. It has a baked acrylic, thermal-set black finish that gives it that low luster appeal. Aesthetically speaking, the Trans 10 is not just another beautiful dish. It's got plenty of other qualities to back it up. The extra strength hub is parabolically formed to maximize signal strength. Like the keystone of a great building, the hub is engineered of 3/16" prime steel and measures a solid 14.5 inches in diameter. The ribs are made of superior strength tubular 16-gauge steel encased in polytrans vinyl, especially formulated for the satellite industry. The end result, solid strength, at the same time minimizing the size of the ribbing. This avoids the bulky appearance of so many mesh antennas. The polytrans vinyl ribs of the Trans 10, in another innovative feature, have full half-inch unobstructed mesh retaining channels. The mesh panels slide smoothly into place, simply and surely, making for fast assembly time and snug positioning. Another bonus is better retention of panels in high wind areas and maximum reflector signal with no gaps in that reflective area. It's a distinct advantage over other mesh designs. High gain means better performance. The Trans 10 has an outer rim of rigid extruded aluminum anchored securely to the ribs and center hub to form a solid framework for the panels. The mesh panels are of expanded flattened aluminum with a 1.040 thickness and 0.045 strand width. The mesh and all exposed frame parts have a baked acrylic thermoset finish. All antenna hardware is plated for weather protection. The Trans 10, with its 10-foot diameter, is designed for maximum gain, a focal length of 44 1/4 inches and an FD ratio of 0.375. The Trans 10 is UPS shippable anywhere in the United States with a weight of 145 pounds without mount. It means easy handling. Without a doubt, the Trans 10 by Calltronics is the front runner in the industry, the ultimate mesh antenna design because of quality, performance, and eye appeal. The only stainless steel antennas in the industry are produced by Qualtronics. On a massive press that required 3 railroad cars to move to the plant site, the antennas are hydroformed each day. Using water in the hydroforming process, the antennas are turned out in 3 sizes, 66-inch, 90-inch, and 112 inches. Sheets of 304 gauge stainless steel are placed precisely on the press in preparation for the massive pressure to start the patented process during which the parabolic curve is developed. Tons of pressure are exerted during the process, an absolute necessity where stainless steel is concerned because of its superior strength and toughness. But once the stainless steel antenna is formed, it keeps that shape thanks to its molecular memory. That's why Qualtronics can offer a 10-year warranty on its antennas. The parabolic curve will not change. The Nova SS 112-inch antenna has been tested and approved for 2-degree spacing. Tests were conducted by Telstat Corporation of Houston, Texas. Qualtronics knows that because the press die is extremely accurate, thousands of dishes can be turned out with the same high quality. This is not the case with spun metal dishes, where each succeeding dish varies from the die because of the wear during the process.
Qualtronics is happy to be an authorized distributor and service center for the innovative satellite home electronics equipment from Luxor, a name synonymous with high technology. We would like to take a moment to give you a closer look at some of these innovative electronics from Luxor. The Luxor 9550 remote-controlled satellite receiver. The Luxor 9550 gives you total control over the satellite spectrum. 24 channels can be selected, fine-tuned, and then programmed for automatic recall. 4 different audio systems, mono or stereo, can be selected in either wide or narrow bandwidth for programming with any channel. A built-in stereo processor for both TV audio or stereo sound only eliminates the necessity for an add-on external stereo processor. An RF modulator in the receiver provides easy connection to any TV set. The 9550 is not only a satellite television receiver, it will feed a hi-fi stereo system with quality audio-only signals. You can also make professional quality VCR recordings via the audio-video baseband outputs. Compare these features with systems costing much more. You'll see the extra value in investing in a Luxor. The Luxor 9534 antenna actuator. Now you can have fully automatic satellite selection at your command by remote control. The location of 30 different satellites can be precisely defined and programmed for automatic recall at the touch of a button. The unit is designed coordinated to interface with a Luxor 9550 satellite receiver. Introducing a new generation of electronic excellence. Now, several television sets throughout your home can have independent channel selection at the same time from a single antenna. Advanced block conversion and high-performance technology bring you quality picture stability. Temperature-sensitive components are in the receiver inside the house. A built-in stereo processor for both TV audio and stereo sound only eliminates the necessity for an external add-on stereo processor. The entire system is easy to install. It's great. Simultaneous multi-channel TV viewing is here. The art and science of electronics put a whole new world of television right at your fingertips. The Scantic is packed with the state-of-the-art features designed and built to the most exacting European standards. Created to expand your video and audio universe into crystal clear reception and virtually unlimited viewing selection. touch your way to a wonderful new experience in sight and sound. Easy channel selection, 24 programmable channels. Pick up all 24 transponder channels on each satellite with simple digital push-button control. Choose even or odd channels, step up or down at the touch of a button. Bright LED display can be seen from across the room. Precise fine-tuning for each of 24 channels is automatic and programmable. You can also make your own fine-tuning adjustments with a fingertip touch with the AFC off. Feature for feature, Scantic delivers more versatility and higher quality performance automatically for less. The Nova MSR 440 receiver is a low-cost, high-clarity receiver designed to operate efficiently with smaller aperture antennas. The receiver employs an exceptional AFC circuit to lock in satellite channels. The variable tune channel select control allows additional fine-tuning. Built-in polarization controls are provided to operate the optional Polarator 1 and also includes built-in modulator, tunable channels 4 to 6. Call now for the best buy in the satellite market today.
As you all well know, Qualtronics' home office is located in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's known for some nasty weather in the fall, winter, and spring time of the year. And especially in the fall and winter, a lot of times this rainy weather will freeze or get inside the jack shaft itself and freeze inside of the actuator. And that's when problems become very serious. To prevent this from happening, we've got a weather boot available to you dealers and distributors to take care of that problem. This boot has a vent at the front and also one at the bottom. Let me show you one that is not installed yet. Here's the vent at the top and the vent at the bottom. You merely slide the unit, the weather boot, over the jack shaft. This part goes over the external tube and the front piece over the internal tube. And as the actuator extends, the preformed pleats unfold. And as it contracts, it goes back to its preformed shape once again. It's held in place with some specially designed wire ties to prevent any water from getting in around the shaft cylinder itself. And with this piece in place, this will prevent any rain from getting inside of the actuator tube itself and preventing any costly service call. Now, to make the system complete and totally impervious to any water intrusion, we also have motor boot covers as well. They also have the vent on the top side, and all these vents on the top side, they are curved down, and if you can see real closely, there's a small hole there to allow air to enter in through the system to prevent any condensation from occurring. The bottom vent is an excellent place for your cables to exit, to prevent also that by that way you aren't having to pierce another hole and allowing water to penetrate in through that hole. With these two units installed together, it will eliminate almost entirely any water intrusion into the system of the actuator. Call up any of the numbers listed on the screen throughout the program, or write the numbers down because these lines are busy during the program. And for future reference, also it's convenient to have that number listed. At twice the cost, these boots are worth it. Try one out. I think you'll like one. Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed the video newsletter. We look forward to seeing you again next week for Qualtronics Video Newsletter.
That's all for this evening's Satellite Showtime. If you have any questions or comments about the program, feel free to contact us at Nova Video Productions, Box 637, Highway 14 East, Richland Center, Wisconsin, 53581. And our phone number, which you see up here with the address, is 608-647-4246. On next week's program, you can look forward to another segment of our lively panel discussion on the state of the satellite industry. Until then, good night.